Cooper Lowline became the dominant car of the 1960 Formula One World Championship, and it absolutely put the last nails in the coffin of the traditional front-engine Grand Prix car. If you talk about the Cooper Lowline cars, which were introduced in 1960, you've really got to have a little look at the background. Cooper had been building racing cars with the engine in the back from 500cc Formula 3 days in the 40s. And the engine in the back was a nice way to mount a motorcycle engine driving by chain to the rear wheels. But it then proved to be a pretty good idea if you kept the engine in the back and had it driving through what was originally a Citroën front drive gearbox that had been turned round to drive the rear wheels as well, because you could build the car lower than the front engine cars of the time, and that punched a smaller hole in the air, and you could use more of the horsepower to go fast in a straight line.
I'm Nick Topliss, and I've brought a Cooper T53 that used to belong to Stirling Moss. Well, it's a car from 1961, and 1961 was a crossover year where Formula One went to 1.5 litres. So this is a 2.5 litre car, and was called an international car. They were going to run an international intercontinental series with the cars, but actually they sort of did both, really. They ran both in Grand Prix and in Intercontinental by changing the engine. So I've owned it for 4 years, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing.
We Brits were determined to hang on to running the 2.5 litre cars, and we ran a national formula effectively called Intercontinental Formula, which still accepted 2.5 litre cars. And Rob Walker had this blue and white Cooper Lowline provided by the Cooper company for Stirling to drive in those Intercontinental Formula races. And Stirling did very well with the car and was the man to beat, and he won. And at Silverstone, for example, where the race was flooded, it was terrible. And Stirling loved the way that the Cooper Lowline handled. And at that stage in his career, he was so confident in his own ability that, well, he described to me once how one corner was flooded, and he noticed that all his competitors were driving on the drier bits, or the bits, everything was wet, but there were bits where there wasn't any standing water. And so he thought, well, you know, the Cooper's stable, I'll go through the standing water. So he dived into the standing water, complete no-no normally. And he knew that the car would broadside in the water, it would just float across it. And he skated across the water, came off the water, and just caught the car and balanced it. His confidence in his own ability and in the Cooper's stable handling was such that he could do that. And it was that demonstration of ability that was just, it was just complete artistry on wheels. It was like ice dancing, you know? And that's what somebody of his caliber could do. And that would be exactly the same if it had been Jackie Stewart or Niki Lauda or Lewis Hamilton or, you know, you name it, in later years, Alain Prost, all of these great, great drivers. Max Verstappen would be equipped to do that today, and Lando Norris probably would be. But in period, that was Stirling Moss.